You know that feeling, right? You get your app settings just perfect on your iPhone, and then you pick up your iPad and everything's back to default. It's a small thing, but it just kind of breaks the magic. Well, today, we're going to fix that. We're going to dive into how you can sync user settings seamlessly across all their devices using iCloud.
Okay, let's dive into this with a classic example. Your user absolutely loves your app. They go into the settings, they switch the theme to dark mode on their iPhone. Awesome. Later, they fire up the app on their iPad, and bam, that blinding white theme is back. It's such a tiny point of friction, but it really chips away at that seamless, magical experience we're all trying to build. So, how do we actually fix this?
Well, Apple's answer is a tool with, let's be honest, a bit of a mouthful of a name. NUbiquitousKeyValueStore. But seriously, don't let that name intimidate you. The idea behind it is just beautiful and simple. Think of it like a tiny personal locker for your app's data that lives inside the user's iCloud account. It was made for exactly this job, syncing tiny bits of data automatically. Now, it is absolutely crucial to understand what this tool is built for and what it's not for. This isn't the place to be saving huge files or complicated databases. No way. Its sweet spot is for things like app settings. Our dark mode example is perfect. Or other user preferences, maybe even small state values like the last chapter of an ebook they were on. It's all about syncing those little details that make an app feel personal and consistent everywhere. And here is the absolute best part. What's really interesting about this slide is if you've ever used user defaults to save a setting on the device, you pretty much already know how to use this. I mean, look at it. The API is practically identical. You're still calling .set with a value and a key to save things. The learning curve? It's basically flat. Okay, so we get the what and the why. Now let's get into the how. How does this sync actually happen? The best way to think about it is like a two-way street. Your app has two main jobs. First, it has to push any local changes up to the cloud. And second, it needs to be listening for changes coming down from the cloud so it can update itself. So let's look at that first direction, sending a change from the device to iCloud. It's a really simple four-step process. First up, you get a reference to the iCloud store. Step 2, you save the new setting to your local user defaults, just like you normally would. Third, you save that exact same value to the iCloud store. And finally, and this is the key, you call synchronize. So the crucial point is that last step is everything. Calling .synchronize is basically your app tapping the system on the shoulder and saying, hey, I've got something new here. Can you please schedule an update to iCloud? Just setting the value isn't enough to kick things off. This call is what officially flags that data for upload. Whatever you do, do not forget this call. Let's move to and see how this builds on the other side of the street, pulling changes down from iCloud. So how does the iPad find out that the iPhone just switched to dark mode? Well, it's simple. It listens. The whole system is built on observation. Your app just needs to add an observer, which is basically like putting an ear to the ground, waiting for a very specific notification from the system. When that notification comes in, you just grab the new value from iCloud and update your local settings. That's it. And this brilliantly illustrates the real magic behind the whole system. This one notification, did change externally notification, is the trigger for everything. It's the system's way of shouting, hey, listen up. The data you care about was just changed on another device. By listening for that one signal, your app knows exactly when to wake up, react, and keep that user experience perfectly in sync. Okay, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? It's simple, it's effective, but hold on. Before you run off and start coding this up, there are a few really important rules and limits you absolutely have to know about. Let's go over the fine print. Right, the biggest one you need to remember is the storage space. You get exactly 1 megabyte. And that's not per device, that's the total amount of space for your app per user across all of their devices combined. This number really drives the point home. This is for small, lightweight data only. So beyond that 1 MB limit, there are a couple of other key rules. Like we've been saying, you've got to stick to preferences and settings, not critical user data. And because this data is floating around in iCloud, it's probably a good idea to avoid storing anything super sensitive. And lastly, a super practical step you cannot forget, you have to go into your project settings in Xcode, find the iCloud capability, and make sure that little key value storage box is checked. If you forget that step, literally none of this is going to work. All right, so we've covered the what's, the how, and the what not to do. So let's just boil all of this down to the one single thing, the key takeaway you should remember from this whole explainer. And here it is.
Whenever you need a simple, almost set it and forget it way to automatically sync your users' preferences across all their devices, NSUbiquitousKeyValueStore is the perfect tool for the job. It's built right in, it's easy to use, and it works incredibly well for the very specific thing it was designed for. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Take a look at your own app right now. What's one small preference, maybe a theme, a filter setting, some simple on-off toggle, that could use a little bit of this sync magic today? It's often a small change for you, but it can make your user's experience feel so much more polished and thoughtful. Thanks for joining me.